Hey everybody, Gary with Basecamp Trading. Let's take a look at a nice support break trade that we had in crude oil futures this morning. This is our 30-minute chart, and you can see that starting last night, crude came down here, hit this 5107 level, bounced, and then it started climbing. 5 actually was above the 13 at this point. We pushed up, and then during the overnight session, crude left this very bearish shooting star, triggered it to the downside. 5 crossed back under the 13 EMA. The 50 EMA is already below the 200, and crude started heading down again. And it went down here during the overnight session, hit this 5107 level, pulled back, came down there, hit it again, pulled back, and so now we have a well-defined level of support here. This 5107, we have our MQ power line right here. Crude makes a pullback during the U.S. session and then heads lower again. Comes down here, makes a little 30-minute run on stops, testing this level again, pulled back up, and then finally broke and headed lower. And it was a nice run to the downside after the support break. We hit significantly undervalued on our value charts. We know when we hit significantly undervalued that we can expect a pullback or consolidation. That's what crude did. You can see it pulled back, left a couple of dojis, started consolidating again. Here's what that looked like on our Unirenko chart. Right here is where crude was in compression through the night session. We made a little push down, and then right here we got this pullback. We made a nice wick off the 50 with a slow line zero touch. Slow line meaning the slow line on MQ momentum. We have broken down, pulled back to the zero line. The zero line is a line that the histograms move above and below. So we had a nice momentum reset so that crude oil had plenty of room to accelerate to the downside in our direction. And as we were making this wick off the 50 with the slow line zero touch, that's where we were approaching that support break on our higher time frame. Now our trigger was actually the low of this bar, which was 5112, but we knew we'd been down to that 5107 4 previous times. So we know that odds are in our favor that perhaps this time we come down here we're going to break through, which is exactly what we did. So we had a nice Unirenko setup. Our moving averages are all in alignment. The prices below the cloud. We're below the smooth 50, which is our magenta line. We're below the 50 SMA, which is our cyan line. The 34 was underneath the 50 SMA. The 34 is our EMA. So everything's in alignment, and crude is looking very bearish, making lower highs, lower lows. Gave us our perfect slow line zero touch continuation trade. Push down. That was good for our first 4 targets off, and potentially as much as 70 ticks on your runner, depending on how you manage your runner. Crude made another pullback, came back up here, set up a slow line zero touch wick off the 34, which is good for another 3 contracts to the downside. So potentially $700 per contract on the first short, another $300 per contract on our second short. So not a bad morning trading support breaks in crude.